In this video, I want to teach you how to shift gears on your motorbike. What's up, Rad family? I'm Dakota Freeman and welcome to the Rad Adventure Dude channel. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure you hit that and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. When we want to learn how to shift gears on our motorbike, there's a couple of things we need to learn to do with our controls to really shift gears the proper way. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So when we're ready to shift gears on our motorbike, we're going to have to know how to use our throttle, our clutch, and our gear shifter. Our gear shifter is going to be how we actually go through and shift the gears by tapping this gear shifter down or up with our left foot. Every time we go through and perform a gear shift, however, we want to make sure that we have the throttle off and the clutch pulled in. These two things make sure that you're allowing the motor to get freed up before you go through and actually shift your gears with your gear shifter. If you try to shift your gears and you have your throttle on or your clutch not pulled in, it increases your chances of actually missing a gear, which is where the dirt bike stalls or goes into neutral accidentally. And we really don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that we always go through the proper procedure to let the throttle off, pull in our clutch, and then shift our gears. So the very first time we're getting our motorbike started, we're going to have to use our throttle and our clutch to actually get the bike going into motion. To do this, we're going to be in neutral, we're going to let the throttle off. We're then going to pull in our clutch and use our gear shifter to shift down into first gear. Now that we're in first gear and we still have our clutch pulled in, you can begin to ease out your clutch. When you begin to ease out your clutch, you're going to feel a point where it begins to engage with the gears. And at this point, we want to make sure to apply a little bit of throttle while we are continually releasing our clutch. Never pop out your clutch really fast when you're doing this, as it's going to stall the bike or make the bike want to do a wheelie. You want to focus on easing the clutch out very slowly, getting to this point of motion, and then using the throttle to pick up the RPM level and actually get the bike rolling. This is going to be very frustrating to a new rider. However, just keep practicing with this and soon you're no longer going to have to think about it. When you're first learning this, it may be a good thing to actually start and stop repeatedly on your bike. So to do this, you're actually going to want to use your clutch and the throttle, get the bike rolling into motion, go about 10, 20 feet, use your brakes to bring the bike to a stop, and then repeat this process to actually practice using your clutch to get the bike going into motion. This is really going to help you master this and make it to where you no longer have to think about it. So now that you're comfortable with this part and getting the bike going into motion, let's go ahead and talk about shifting our gears. Now that we're rolling on our motorbikes, we want to focus on shifting up in our gears so we can get the RPMs back down to a lower gear range. These higher gears are also going to be made for more top speed, plus there's less acceleration off the throttle because there's less torque in these higher gears, which can actually make it easier to cruise. So when you first get started and you're using the throttle to accelerate, since you're in these lower gears, you're going to hear the RPMs get really high and your bike will run out of power. When you hear the RPMs get really high like this, it's signaling to you that you need to shift up. Hear the RPMs, get to this high point. Don't just hold the acceleration on and wind out this gear at this high RPM. You want to focus and actually turn the throttle off, pull in your clutch, use your left foot to tap your gear shifter up, and then release your clutch and get back on the throttle. You no longer have to worry, since you're rolling and have momentum, about letting the clutch out easily with the throttle. Since the bike in the back wheel is spinning now, you can actually just shift up, release the clutch, and then get back on the throttle. And this is going to make it much easier to actually shift through the gears while you're riding than to start the bike for the first time. You do, however, want to make sure to go through the proper procedure with the throttle, the clutch, gear shifter, and then release the clutch and then get back on the throttle. That order of operations really needs to be ingrained into your riding. To every time you go shift your gears, you don't even have to think about this. So now that you've shifted up into the next gear, you're actually going to hear the RPMs return back to the low point in the RPMs. This is when you can now continue to accelerate using the throttle, and this is going to pick your RPMs back up as you continue accelerating. Each gear you get into that's a higher gear is going to have a longer gear range that you can spend more time in this gear, and you get more top speed out of this gear as well. So once you get past first and second gear and you're in third gear or fourth gear, you're not going to have to worry about shifting as much because you can really just cruise in one of these gears for a longer amount of time. Then when you're ready to start shifting down, we're going to also go through the same procedure as well. So when we're shifting down, we want to make sure that we let our throttle off. We're then going to pull in our clutch and now shift down using our left foot with the gear shifter. As soon as you shift down, you can now let the clutch back out, and you're going to begin to hear the opposite effect that happened earlier with our motor. Now you're going to hear the RPMs actually go from a lower level to a higher level, and you're going to begin to feel an engine brake through your motorcycle. Two strokes do not have as much effect on this engine brake as a four-stroke motor, and that's good to know depending on what type of bike you have. So whenever you shifted down, you let that clutch out, you really start to feel that engine brake engage. You now want to use your brakes to help slow your bike down as well. So that way you can hear the RPMs go from this high range down a little bit before you make your next downshift. This way you don't actually downshift too many gears at a time, and you want to just simply focus on going through one gear at a time. If you shift down and the RPMs get really high, and then you shift down again before you get the RPM level to come down, you can actually skid your back wheel and actually slide the back of the motorbike around. So that's not really what we're trying to do at this point, as we just want to simply use our downshifting to help engage this engine brake without aggressively trying to throw our body weights forward. Is this video already helping you know how to shift gears on your motorbike? Well, make sure you like this video and drop some comments down below and ask me any other questions that you have. So now you know how to use your throttle and the clutch to actually get the bike going into motion. You also know how to shift up and down through the gears whenever you're riding. So the next thing I want to talk about is going to be how we can really improve upon our gear shifting to make us much faster when we're riding. The most important thing whenever we're riding on a motorbike is staying as smooth as possible. And staying as smooth as possible normally means standing up when we're riding. If we stand up, not only do we have the suspension from the motorbike, we also have our suspension from our legs. So we can truly shift gears in the smoothest way possible when we're standing up. Standing up, however, and shifting gears is going to be difficult for a newer rider. So just learn at your own level and focus on this when you're comfortable. When you are comfortable and you're ready to stand while you're shifting your gears, focus on standing up, focus on being in the correct attack position. This is going to be where you're standing on the balls of your feet, you're going to be gripping the bike with your knees, your elbows are going to be up, and your head is going to be over the handlebars. We're going to have to use our upper body with our right foot to actually balance while we pick up our left foot to go to the gear shifter and shift our gears. This is why it's going to be difficult for a newer rider, because we're not sitting on the bike and it's not as easy for us just to move our foot to the gear shifter and put it back. Now we're actually going to have to think about how we're using our upper body to brace on the bike without it messing with us and the balance of our bikes. So using our upper body on the handlebars to brace for this is a huge way that we can improve how we shift gears when we're standing up. Other ways to improve our gear shifting on our motorbike is going to be shifting when we're coming into corners. We want to make sure that we're downshifting as we come into a corner, and this is going to help us pick the RPM level up and help slow the bike down with the engine brake. This is not the only thing it's going to help us do though, because now that we're in the corner and we're in this lower gear, we actually have more acceleration for when we get on the throttle, we can really get a good drive coming out of this corner. So focusing on shifting down coming into corners and even using your clutch as well. I like to actually come into a corner shifted down and leave my clutch out while I'm using the engine brake. Once I get into the corner, I like to pull my clutch in, and this actually frees the gears up and allows me to coast into this corner even faster because I don't have this engine brake now slowing me down. Then once I get into the corner, I will actually let the clutch out and begin to apply throttle to help get acceleration coming out of this corner. If you're ever in a situation where you go to get on the throttle and the RPMs are too low and you don't have good acceleration, you can tap the clutch. A simple tap on that clutch while you're accelerating is going to pick up the RPMs and get you going into motion. And if this doesn't work, then you're in too high of a gear and you really need to shift down to pick up your RPM level. So focus on this whenever you're cornering to truly get the most acceleration to come out of the corners. You know how important it is to go through and learn how to shift gears the proper way. Especially when we're riding on our motorbikes, this is how we get the most speed, the most acceleration, and really get prepared for different sections of the tracks and trails. So focus on this over time, as it's really going to help you improve to become the best rider possible. If this video helped you learn how to shift gears on your motorbike, make sure you like this video, drop some comments down below, and ask me any other questions that you have. If you're still looking for more dirt bike riding tips, I'm always here. I've made a full dirt bike riding course over on my website. It's going to walk you through being a complete beginner and take you to an advanced rider mastering the tracks and trails. I also give away a free dirt bike guide over on my website. Just sign up for my newsletter and I'll send it straight to you. Make sure you click the subscribe button that's right here and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. After that, you can watch my next video right here. Stay rad, and I'll see you over there.